Hi everyone, this is Emily Bowen-Moore. This is an intro video in Photoshop just for the interface, just to get a grasp of the navigation on the interface and the screen that you'll be presented. Initially, all I've done here is just open Photoshop from my dock at the bottom of my computer. And so once you open your program, I have a lot of documents that I've had open in the past, but it'll give you an option here to create new or open a specific document. In some cases, we'll be opening an actual image and manipulating or photo editing that image. So in that case, you would just either click and drag that image into the Photoshop icon, or you can do open here. I'm just going to create a new. Not worried about any specifications at the moment. And this was originally set up for mobile device design or app design. So I'm just kind of had a lot of stuff open here at the beginning. But just like all the other Adobe products, you will have similar interfaces. You'll have some of the same tools. Some of the same tools will act a little differently or do slightly different things. Some of your shortcuts may be different between programs. Like for instance, the undo command is a little different in Photoshop than it is in InDesign or Illustrator. So some of those you'll learn through experience, and I'll tell you when the moment is necessary. But again, as far as the interface goes, you're going to have a lot of the same capabilities and the visuals that you have in InDesign and Illustrator. You'll primarily be using InDesign and Photoshop. So again, you'll have this top menu to have commands based on the file, based on the image, the layers you're creating, filters that you might be incorporating into your photo editing and stuff like that. Your view, again, your windows, your tool windows over to the right over here correspond to the tools that you're using on the left side of the screen. And if those are not visible, you can make them visible by going up to the very top menu and going to Window and then clicking. If it has a check beside it, that means it's open. So if I wanted to open my layer window, there it is, and it's available. Your left side, again, you're going to have the tools. Most of these tools, as you can see with the little arrow in the bottom right, you're going to have multiple types of tools within those tools. For instance, if I go to my shape tool down here, I've got rectangle, rounded rectangle. I've got several types of shapes I can do or create. I'm also going to have a ruler here, and if I want that visible or invisible, I can hit Command R or Control R on a PC. You also have units here. So in this, program with Photoshop, where it's a pixel or raster-based program, which means everything's made of pixels. So it's probably going to be in pixels in terms of the units for the units that you're using in the program. You can adjust those things by going up to Photoshop up here and going to Preferences. You have a window. I usually just go to General because I can access all of my general, all the specific preferences on the left here. So if I go to Workspace, or if I go to different things in terms like the interface, for instance, if you don't like the dark gray, I can change it to a lighter color to make it easier to see. So you can make those things customizable. This goes for InDesign or any of the Adobe programs as well. So the workspace, you can really customize everything that gives you, everything that you want in your workspace. Some of this you don't have to worry about. You are not going to be getting that in depth with some of this stuff. But like for instance, your guides, if you want to change the color of your guides here, you can make them whatever colors you want, whatever types of lines that you want. So like our canvas is cyan, our general canvas guides, and they're usually a solid line. So things like that are going to be important. You can also change the units. So if we're working in pixels, if I were to start a new document, it gives you the option to, see what you're working with in either pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, or picas. So depending on what you're doing, it'll give you those specific general, like if we're doing something for print, which is not usually done in Photoshop, but if we're editing a photo, we might want to be in inches, and it will adapt. And see, now that we're working with an actual canvas for a photo, you can see that ruler has changed to inches and it looks a little different. Just like in design, you can click on those rulers and drag and bring guides. So if you're trying to align certain things, you can do that. You have your double arrow keys to open your windows. Basically, these will open and close, then make them icon form, or they'll open them up and give you a bigger view of those. You can move them around just like you can in InDesign. You can align them. These sections mean they're tabbed, so if I open this icon, I can see my character window as well. Those are tabbed together in the same toolbox, so to speak, or tool window. So you can customize that, and you're going to have those, your workspace. You can save that workspace up here just like in InDesign, and again, your panel at the top will change depending on the type of tool that you're using. So if I came down and I were using the eyedropper tool, then I'm going to have my tool options that relate to the tool I'm using. So here I could adjust and see, if I'm collecting a color from the photograph, I can get a 1-point pixel sample, or I can get 3x3, or a different range or size of pixels that it's drawing colors from and such. So you have a text tool or type tool as well. So again, if I click that, if I go up here to my panel at the top, I'm going to have the options that relate to text and type. Now, there are not going to be as many options that you will have in InDesign, just because usually anything done in Photoshop is either for web or low resolution or use for photo editing. So you're not really going to put type in place for print or do anything with layout necessarily in Photoshop. We're going to be mostly using Photoshop as a photo editing tool to help us when we're placing images and then using those images in a layout, which will be executed in InDesign. Okay, so the difference between these programs are pretty simple once you get used to them. Photoshop is a raster-based program used for photo editing primarily. They use it for web design as well. InDesign is a layout program used for print and web as well. And it will merge both types, vector and raster type images. It merges CMYK and RGB color, so it kind of merges both worlds. Now, Illustrator is an optional program that you are welcome to use, but I'm not going to teach it extensively in the course. We've kind of taken it out of the curriculum just to make sure that you are not overwhelmed with too much information and too many new things to learn. So, but Illustrator is a vector-based program used for creating graphics and mostly, but it can be used for layout as well, and mostly it's going to have options for creating logos or Some people use it for layout for business cards and stationery and letterheads and stuff like that. So we will be able to use InDesign for anything that you're doing in class based on that. So, but these interfaces are pretty easy to use once you get used to them. So again, like I said before, please practice, practice, practice. Just get used to navigating on the screen. Experiment with some of the tools. We'll be going over them more specifically later. But in the meantime, it's not going to hurt to play around with it and just get comfortable, okay? Thanks for listening, and we will talk soon.